What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, the Mad, the Dashing, Dash Jovis, and I'm back to streaming. So, my new mic is not compatible with my laptop. I'm going to need to buy an adapter of some kind, or my new mic, I mean. Got a fill light going on now, so hopefully you can see my, face a little bit better. A bunch of fun things have happened since the last time I streamed. We've got a ban list coming up, so for those of you on YouTube, this is going to be the ban list discussion, and let's just go through it. So, we've got about a week before these kick in, and let's just get through it. So first of all, Appaloosa. Little sad about this one because I have an alt-art Appaloosa, and I really quite like the alt-art Appaloosa too. It's not even one of those alt-arts that's just bling. It genuinely is very pretty artwork. But this should have gone before Malice was even released. This is a really good hit. One of the 4 horsemen of the end board. It makes playing through Nibiru way too easy. It means that any link spam board can easily add 2 to 4 negates to their board, and you can usually beat over it in combat, but then you're using up your battle phase and probably baiting a negate in the process, and it's just way too strong. This is mostly a Malice hit right now, but this is one of those hits where it's a generic hit that will be very helpful in the long run and will make the game a lot more fair. It makes Nibiru better, and Nibiru stocks go up because of this. Anyway, in general, I think this is just a fantastic hit. I think hitting Appaloosa just makes the game better. It should have been done in the first place. There's no link decoder on here, so that's a little unfortunate. Malice still has all the broken Cyber Slop extra deck options. But without Appaloosa, you have to be a little bit more creative to play around Nibiru, and I think that is overall a really good thing. Next we have Evil Swarm Ouroboros. This was being played in Heraldic Ryziel, and what you would do is you would hand loop your opponent for 1, and then Ryziel plug in to hand loop them again, and I believe there was actually a way that you could hand loop people for 3 cards while still ending on Detonator, so that was crazy. I personally stopped running this pretty quickly because I found using 3 monsters to hand loop for 1 was not a great use of resources, and using up my Ryziel plugin, which was a good tool against Imperm on my Detonator, was I didn't actually like playing with this card, not because I thought it was especially weak, but because I thought it was I thought there were better things I could be doing in Ryziel than this card. But it is an unfair card, right? Just hand looping your opponent for 2 or 3 cards is not a fun play pattern. So even though I don't think this card was necessarily the best thing you could be doing in Ryziel, I'm glad to see it go. Now you can still hand loop people for 1 using the Mathmech rank 4, but that actually has a hard once per turn instead of a soft once per turn, so you're hand looping them for 1. And that's totally reasonable, using 3 monsters to randomly hand loop someone for 1, significantly weaker than what they were doing with this card. And as someone who wasn't playing this card but was playing against this card, I'm really happy to see it go. I think this is a good hit. Anti-spell from 1 to 0. Yes! Kill the floodgates! I wish barrier statues were on here, and I wish all of the floodgates they've got at 1, that you just pick the one that's good in your deck, or you pick a few of them and run them all, would go away or whatever. But anti-spell was especially egregious, because if you're playing any deck that relies on spell cards, Your opponent plays all their spells on their turn, and then flips up anti-spell, and you're like, oh, great. I have a hand that would totally break your board, except I just lose the game on the spot. Like, anti-spell is gross. And it gets grosser all the time as more and more decks become reliant on, like, spell cards to start their plays. Yeah, I think... I mean, I'm a little bit more concerned about, like, Infernal Flame Banshee searching Barrier Statue, or Gallant Granite searching Barrier Statue than I am about Anti-Spell, because generally speaking, like, you can search Anti-Spell. There are ways to, like, use Nightmare Griffin to get your Anti-Spell back after sending it to the graveyard somehow, and etc., etc. But, like, for the most part, Anti-Spell is just, like, if I'm going first, and I draw it, and I set it, I can floodgate you out. Whereas, like, the Barrier Statues are more like, they're searchable throughout the course of your combo and then hit the table. So I think those are more concerning than Anti-Spell. But I'm not going to complain about Anti-Spell getting banned, because it is a toxic card. It's just a little bit frustrating that they're being so slow to get rid of the floodgates, that they're leaving them in the format. But that's not to say they're not being proactive at all, because look, here's Artifact Mjolnir. This card is doing stone nothing right now. Like, it's doing absolutely nothing right now. But as we've seen from the TCG, in just a little while, it will be doing a lot if it stays in the format, and artifact locking people is just not fun. You know, there's a reason Scythe had to get banned, and you know, Lancea is kind of like a necessary evil. Like, when Lancea is good, especially in best of one, it's because something really toxic is going on that Lancea is the only answer to. But Mjolnir is just toxic. It's not a fun card, right? This doesn't create fun and interactive games. It reduces games to coin flips. We want less of that, not more of that. And it's nice to see them hitting this ahead of time. That is a very proactive hit. I just wish we would have seen the searchable barrier statues go with it, because I run into those a lot more often in this format than I run into Mjolnir. But, you know, this is still a good hit. This is still a good hit, and it's a proactive hit. I like those proactive hits. It's nice to know that they're willing to hit cards ahead of time. Like, so far, everything in this Forbidden section, total W. Like, my only complaint is that there's a couple things that are kind of problematic in the format that they haven't hit. But, you know, maybe they're just waiting to see if they're actually that bad, and they've decided that, like, these three are actually actively making games pretty awful right now. This one could in the future, and maybe they just don't want to make too many proactive hits. Maybe they just want to see whether or not searching barrier statues actually remains the norm or gets countered. But I mean, with them hitting Bagooska last ban list, and now hitting Mjolnir and Appaloosa and Anti-Spell and Ouroboros, I mean, I feel like we've had some pretty good W's coming out of the ban list lately. So that's nice. Cards to be limited. Okay. So we're going to go through these in a couple of sections. So Sword and X-Ryzeal are both going to 1. So this is not a huge hit to your Ryzeal variants. You know, Magistus Ryzeal, I was already only playing 1/7 Tachyon because I needed space for my non-engine. And, like, you can easily swap these out for 7th Ascensions and 7th Tachyon and still have pretty good odds of opening. You know, it makes your combo objectively a little bit weaker, but it doesn't make your deck less consistent. So actually, these are not consistency hits. What these do is they reduce the power of your grind game, and they reduce the power of your combo, because you're going to be relying on 7th Tachyon more often. You know, X does really hurt the heraldic version of Ryzeal. Having only 1 X, it's like, one of the best things about the Heraldic version is that you have 2 great cards to send off of Ext. So having only 1 Ext and having to recycle it with a field spell, and this also hurts your Fiendsmith or your Mitsurugi piles pretty badly, because often those want to start with Ice, summon Ext, and then use Ext later in the combo. But you can still just search Ice and pitch a card from your hand, and you didn't get to, or you can just summon Sword and add Ext, and it doesn't that dramatically change the combo lines. It just makes them a little bit weaker and makes your follow-up a little bit weaker. Sword, I am running 3 in my Mitsurugi list right now, but 1 Sword's not a big difference. Losing the Ext is a pretty big difference, but it is going from 2 to 1, so it's... I don't think this kills Ryziel, and I think Ryziel was strong enough that it deserves some hits. And for the Magistus Ryziel, which is the version I was having the most fun playing anyway, these hits are actually pretty minor. You're weaker into Droll. Your 7th Tachyon means you're putting a card back into the deck, so you have fewer cards to work with. But you're gonna be all right. You can still make your detonator. You can still draw a couple cards along the way. Your follow-up might be a little bit weaker if you don't reset your Sword and your Ext off of the Ryziel Cross, and that means that your Sword Ryziel also, because with Node Ryziel, I often revive Sword Ryziel and then make Detonator, because that way they can't bestial my target off of Node Ryziel and keep me from making my Detonator. But now you're going to want to use Sword Ryziel to make your Deguaris, send it to the graveyard, and then shuffle it back so that you have follow-up. Right? But that's, all in all, that's not a big deal. It makes you slightly weaker into bestials. Again, all these are actually power level hits more than they are consistency hits, because the consistency exists. You can run Aritama and Sakitama and make Duo Drive and your full Ryziel combo already, right? Or make Infernal Flame Banshee, Search Ext, your full Ryziel combo, right? There's a million different ways for you to get the consistency back from losing these 2 cards, but these do make your combos less powerful, they make your follow-up less powerful, and I think that's actually a good thing. And it makes the Mitsurugi Fiendsmith Ryziel deck a little bit less powerful as well. Your combo line now is going to be a little bit different, but it doesn't kill that deck, and that deck wasn't actually that big a part of the metagame anyway. It was alright, and I had fun playing with it, but it has so much engine it wants to run that you either skimp on your non-engine, or you go 60 cards and then you lose to blowouts more often, and that's frustrating. So I think I will be playing with that version of the deck a little bit tonight while we stream. But I think these are good hits. Ryziel, one of the best decks. There's no branded hits, but that's honestly probably fine. Only really good branded players are playing branded, and they're living in the past to a certain degree. They got their branded fusion back, and that's nice, but honestly, branded in white scares me more than branded fusion anyway, and they are still beatable. So then for the Malice end of things, we've got one Chessie Cat, and if you look at the Malice list right now, I'm not saying mine is the perfect Malice list, but one Dormouse, one Malice in Underground. They put Gold Sarcophagus back to 1. So sure, you have Hand Trap plus Backup Ad Ignister is full combo, and White Rabbit is full combo, but they're little by little whittling down on your ways to combo. And one of your remaining ways to combo was Chessy Cat plus March Hare, or Chessy Cat plus a Bestial, or Chessy Cat plus any Malice name. And now you only have the one Chessy Cat. So they're really hurting the consistency of this deck. These maybe should be... I mean, it doesn't matter, it's going to change in a couple days anyway, but they've really hit the consistency of the Malice deck at this point. But you do still have 3 backup Ad Ignister. You have a bunch of tools to get there. You can run the 3rd White Rabbit. I'm running 2 White Rabbit in this list to make room for my non-engine, so like you lose 2 Chessy Cat, add back the 3rd White Rabbit. There's always Cynet Mining if you really want more consistency, right? It does hurt the grind game of the deck a little bit to have 1 Dormouse, 1 Chessy Cat, 1 Malice and Underground. And I think it's such a shame that Gold Sarcophagus had to die for the sins of, or not die, but suffer for the sins of Dormouse. I was really hoping that wouldn't happen, and it did. But, yeah, you know, Malice is still going to be a good deck. I think losing the Appaloosa line is really important, but you still have Link Decoder, you still have Splash Mage, you still have all of your Link monsters, you still have Allied Code Talker at Ignister, right? Like, you'll be fine without Appaloosa. Like, you just run Link Spider and you can still play through Nibiru, right? Like, not in every circumstance, but that's a good thing, right? Like, you shouldn't just be able to casually play through every Nibiru, you know? And one thing that's nice about this is also they're hitting ultra rares. They're giving us some ultra rare dust back before the new cards come out. So, you know, they're not being stingy like they often are, where, oh, well, we can't hit Appaloosa because then it'll be harder to sell you. Let's just say Vanquish Soul comes out next. I don't know if that's what they're going to do, but let's just say Vanquish Soul comes out next. They're like, well, we don't want to give you 1 free Holy Sue, or 2 free Holy Sues if you have an Ouroboros, or whatever, right? Like, for me, I'm going to have this, and 2 of these, and 1 of these, and 1 of these. That basically means I can get all the Vanquish Soul cards that matter when Vanquish Soul comes out, just off of that, right? So they're not being afraid to hit ultra rares anymore. That's a really nice change in ban list philosophy. They're actually hitting the problem cards instead of being like afraid to give us back ultra rare dust. So I really appreciate that. Called by the Grave. Okay, so first of all, let me just say this card is bullshit. It sucks having to build your whole deck with 17 to 20 hand traps, and then your opponent just called by the Graves one of your hand traps, and your situation is useless. However, you might notice there's no Max C on this list. 0 Max C on this list. Max C is going to be at 2. So there's one less answer, one less generic answer to Max C. They want Max C to resolve? Like, what the hell is that about? Because, like, the biggest problem, the number 1 problem with the Master Duel format is Max C. Like, there's no bigger problem in the Master Duel format than Max C. It's a huge blowout. The decks that don't get hit by it that bad tend not to be that strong because they're not spamming the board with monsters. And most decks just get wrecked by it, including rogue decks. And, like, yeah, it gives the player going second a chance because it skips the other player's turn and or draws them, like, 15 cards. Like, it's atrocious to me that they're limiting Called by the Grave without, because Called by the Grave should be banned, but so should Max C if you're gonna ban Called by the Grave. And limiting Called by the Grave and not limiting Max C, it's like, oh man, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're just gonna make Max C more powerful? Like, clearly they want, I mean, spoiler alert, here's Droll down here, another one of the answers to Max C, even if it's a more situational one. These are hits that I think would be really good in a format without Max C. Like, in a format without Max C, having one less Called by the Grave, one less Droll, that means you have one fewer blowout in the format, and you have hand traps be more relevant, so you can actually deck build with the right number of hand traps to answer your opponent. But like, what, I have to never play a combo deck because you guys want Max C in the format? Like, I don't know, man. Anybody defending Max C at this point is like delusional, man. I don't know. I don't know. For a while I thought, oh well, I guess Asians like Max C and that's why they're doing it this way, but like, seems like it's pretty controversial even in the OCG. Like, why do they want Max C in the game? Why is it so important to Konami that we have Max C in the game? We have 9 Mulcharmies, and the Mulcharmies are fixed versions of Max C, and they're still a little bit too powerful, but they're acceptable, right? Like, the limitations on them make them somewhat riskier to run in your deck and significantly easier to play around or to play through. But adding them on top of Max C is just like, oh great. So I have to put up no interruptions into your board or give you way too many cards, right? Like, that's my choices a lot of the time if my opponent activates Max C and Fuwalas. And like, I can handle Fuwalas being in the format, but like, they shouldn't be hitting Called by the Grave. This is like the biggest L on this ban list, in my opinion. Not because I think Called by the Grave is a fair and balanced card that should be at 3 and causes no problems. Like, yeah, this card screws up the hand trap minigame so badly, but when the hand trap minigame revolves around everybody having 2 Max Cs in their deck, I want that second Called by the Grave. I don't want to have only 4 answers to Max C in most decks, and like, I mean, hitting Droll is fine, but like, they should be hitting Droll because Droll is a turn skip, not because Droll is an answer to Max C. Like, this mentality of we want your Max C to resolve is like, oh, so you don't want the game to be skillful. You want the game to boil down to, did you draw Max C going second, or did you win the coin toss? Like, that's what it feels like. It's insulting. And maybe it's just that I've had too many bad experiences where I've been completely blown out by Max C, and I've tried to play through it and it's failed, and I've tried to just pass the turn and it's failed, and I've had 3 hand traps and I've passed and it's failed. And I put up a God board and it's failed, right? Like, there's no right answer to a Max C resolving. And that doesn't mean that you'll never win if your opponent resolves a Max C. But, like, it's one of the most frustrating experiences in the world for your opponent to activate Max C and taking away one of my answers to Max C. Actually, 2. Because Droll Knockbird, good answer to Max C in my Fiendsmith lists. It's really frustrating, right? And I mean, given that the latest solo mode put 2 Max Cs in both of the loner decks, it doesn't look like Max C is going anywhere, you know, which is, when Max C went to 2, it was like, yes, they're finally acknowledging that this card is a problem. And they're just like, no, it's a problem at 3, but at 2 it's fine. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, that's absolute, complete and total nonsense, you know? Yeah, it's frustrating. It's the biggest L on the list, because otherwise, because like, if you ignored the Called by the Grave. Like, even taking away one Droll, I think, is more harm than good. And, like, Furniture back to 3 is just like, this should have happened a long time ago. It's a nothing burger. Decks that are Labyrinth might not even play all 6 Furniture, or I've seen lists that are only playing 1 of each Furniture. I've seen lists that are playing all 4 Furniture, and maybe some of those will be on 6 now. It is a meaningful difference to the people who want to play Furniture Lab, but like, these cards are not problems. They should have been off the list a while ago. It's nice to see them back. Big W ban list. Big W ban list for Appaloosa. It seems like that might not be enough to stop Malice from being too appealing, but then they hit Chessy Cat 2. Great hit. Love that hit. Makes me feel happy. You know, they're addressing the decks that need addressing, which is Ryziel and Malice. There's no Mitsurugi hits on here yet, but also pure Mitsurugi is not a problem, and arguably the Ryziel hits are Mitsurugi hits for the combo Mitsurugi, because the main Mitsurugi combo deck is the Ryziel Mitsurugi list, right? So, like, you know, Anti-Spell, huge W. Preemptively hitting Mjolnir before it becomes a problem, huge fucking W, right? Like, makes me think that they're actually caring about stopping some of the degeneracy going on in the game and bringing some of the power level back down to a point where it's manageable. But for some fucking reason, the Konami out of Asia wants Max C to resolve, and I don't want Max C to resolve. The only reason I tolerate Max C is because, like, most of the time it doesn't resolve. And the difference between 4 and 5 answers to Max C, when you want to see exactly one answer to Max C, is a substantial difference. You know, it was already hard enough to play 60 card decks in a world with Max C. It's going to be virtually impossible with one less Droll, one less Called by. Like, it's going to kill my desire. Yeah, my desire to play 60 card decks was already low enough because I would get blown out so easily. This means it's basically I have to be playing 40 cards so that I have my best chances of seeing Called by the Grave into my one Called by the Grave into their Max C, right? And, like, don't get me wrong, otherwise this should be a W. Like, this should be a W, but there should be a Max C at 1 right next to it, and then next list they should put them both to 0, right? Like, because this card is a necessary evil in a world of Max C. It just that's how I see it, at least. Like, I don't think it's responsible to get rid of one of the main answers to Max C in a format with 2 Max C. Like, and why 2 Max C, right? Like, why was Max C a problem at 3 but is fine at 2? I don't know how much I buy that. And, you know, some people are saying, well, now Max C's win rate will go up and then they'll be willing to hit Max C, and that might be true, but then why are they creating loner decks with 2 Max C in them, you know? Like, then Tactical Tri-decks had Max C in them, right? Like, we had to wait for the Tactical Tri-decks to disappear for us to think they would do anything to Max C, and they're just not doing anything about Max C. And I don't understand why, because I don't understand what good Max C does for the game. Like, I understand what good the Mulcharmies do for the game, even if they're a little bit overtuned. Because they do the good thing that Max C does, which is makes going second a little bit better. And yet they do it without doing a lot of the bad stuff that Max C does, which is giving you way too many cards, like way too much value when it resolves, and also being usable after you've put your full combo board up, right? Yeah, like Fuwalos, probably a little overtuned, but I can live in a world with 3 Fuwalos and not be too upset about it, even with no Called by the Grave. But living in a world with 2 Max C, where I have, like, instead of 6 answers to it, I have 5. I guess that's still not terrible, but it's... especially because it's at 2. But too many games were already coming down to Max C, and this is going to make even more games come down to Max C. And I fear that the reason they hit Droll is not because it's a turn skip against a lot of decks that are totally fine otherwise. I fear they're hitting Droll because it's an answer to Max C. Like, I fear that this is a sign they want Max C to be impactful in the format. And I would rather Max C not be in the format. So I'm going to give this like an 8 out of 10. Because, like, every card hit on the list deserves a hit. And every card unhit on the list deserves to come off the list. But there's a couple of cards that are just absent from the list that really should go. You know, using Gallant Granite or Infernal Flame Banshee to search a barrier statue and then normal summon it at the end of your big combo is degenerate, and it happens way too often, and they really should just ban all the barrier statues, but especially the 2 searchable ones. And they shouldn't be hitting the answers to Max C without hitting Max C. Like, even if it was just Max C to 1 called by the Grave to 1, I mean, now Max C resolving feels really bad, but you're not gonna, it'll be like Shifter, right? It'll be a lot like Shifter, where it's like, okay, every now and again I have a good game because I managed to play through a Max C or around a Max C or whatever, and most of the time I don't see it, right? Like, that would be a huge improvement, just Max C to 1. And instead, what this is showing me is that we have to worry about Max C coming back to 3, you know? Shows that they want Max C to resolve, and I don't want Max C to resolve, so that's a big L. The biggest L on the list, and I think like, you lose half a point for keeping the barrier statues. You lose half a point for keeping the barrier statues out of the format. Or in the format rather, and you lose a point and a half for making Max C even more destructive, right? Like, because it's just not a fun card. It's not a fun card. It hasn't been a fun card the entire time I've been playing Master Duel. Like, I could handle it being in the format. It doesn't completely ruin the game, but like, the more games decided by Max C, the less fun I'm having. Even when I resolve Max C, it doesn't make me feel good. It doesn't make me feel like I deserve to win that game. Like, sometimes I feel like, well, I deserve to have my Max C resolved because Max C resolved against me so many times recently. But like, those don't make good games. Oh, so I could just push through anything because I had a 15 card hand. And it doesn't even have to be that many cards in your hand, but, I mean, oftentimes your opponent builds a smaller board to try and play into your Max C less, and still gives you 5 cards or something. And that's... of course you're going to push through their board at that point. Like, that's insanity. So yeah, I'd say overall this is a W ban list, but it makes me a little bit concerned that they seem to want Max C to be in the format, resolving and being impactful. Because, like, I don't know any Westerners who want Max C to resolve or be impactful, and it seems controversial to say the least amongst Asians. You know, like who wants this card? Like, who wants Max C in the format? It just doesn't make any sense. So yeah, oh, they've changed it to November 6th. I thought it said 7th, but I guess it's the 6th now. So yeah, we've got 5 days left of this format. I'm going to try and jam some games with Ryzeal cards. Well, we've still got Ryzeal cards. And hopefully these hits make the format more fun to play. But I feel like that'll only be true if you dodge Max C. and that big elephant in the room just gets bigger and bigger with them limiting Called by the Grave and semi-limiting Droll and Lockbird, right? Like, yeah, you know, that was already the biggest elephant in the room, and again, I hate saying that, because, like, Called by the Grave is not a fun card. It should be banned. It should be banned. Droll and Lockbird, I'm softer on. I think it has a place in the format, but you could argue it should be banned. 3-2 Droll is a move that I think, in a healthy format, I would be going, yeah, that makes sense, that's good. But Master Duel is not a healthy format, and the biggest reason for that is Max C. And, like, Shifter's at 1, but Max C's at 2? Like, I can play through Shifter way better than Max C most of the time. And Shifter is way more conditional than Max C in every situation. And Shifter is symmetrical, you know, like, so why do we have one Shifter but we have 2 Max C, right? Like, it doesn't make sense. Make it make sense, Konami. Like, how about you cowards explain why Max C is still at 2? Oh well. What are we gonna do, right? I mean, there's a lot of good that comes out of this. I'm never gonna lose to Anti-Spell Fragrance again. I'm not gonna have to worry about Mjolnir locks. Even though they haven't been a thing, they're not going to become a thing when the cards get released. The Ouroboros hand loop is gone, so I no longer have to worry about getting hand ripped and losing my answers to their detonator. Appaloosa is gone, so now Malice has to work a little bit harder to play through Nibiru, and you know, the end boards aren't going to all be Appaloosa plus something else, and Ryzeal hits mean that Ryzeal's power level goes down a little bit without its consistency being impacted so much, and it means that the Heraldic Ryzeal deck becomes significantly less powerful, or like it loses its best opening and its best follow-up, right? Because the best thing about the Heraldic Ryzeal is that turn 1, you send the Heraldic card to the graveyard, search like 3 cards out of the process, and then turn 2, you still have Myriologic Aggregator. It is kind of weird that they're hitting these before Eclipse Twins drops. Like, I guess Konami really regretted Eclipse Twins. That's the only thing I can think of, that they would be starting to hit Ryzeal so hard before Eclipse Twins even drops. But again, Ryzeal will be fine, and we'll do a video later this week talking about how to build Ryzeal for the new format. I'm not likely to play Malice again. Still have the Malice deck. I might rebuild the Malice deck and do some Malice gaming, but like, at this point, Malice is getting to be inconsistent despite being powerful, and so, but that's actually, that's a good thing. We don't need tier 0 Malice format, right? Like, or tier 1 Malice format even. It's toxic in best of 1, and so lowering the power level of Malice, absolutely a good thing. So yeah, that's yapped for quite a bit there, almost 40 minutes, holy crap. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the ban list. I'd say overall it's pretty good, but it makes me really concerned that Konami is still unwilling to address the elephant in the room, which is the amount of non-games created by Max C. So yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and bye!